we have done this hurricane ceremony every year, asking for protection from hurricanes, or at least to make the hurricane more mild so that we can survive it. We do it every year, the third Saturday in July, because we're so terrified of the effects of a hurricane hitting New Orleans. We're quite vulnerable to flooding and disasters of that sort. I think most people who live in New Orleans really love the city as though it were a living entity, and we interact with it as if it had a soul. It's been an interesting process doing the hurricane ceremony every year. It was one of the first public ceremonies that we did. We had done some ceremonies to prevent crime, and over the years it has become really important to people that they be at the ceremony. And every year when a hurricane's threatening, I'm walking my dog through the neighborhood, and people in the neighborhood will come to me and say, "Oh my God, I didn't make it to the ceremony this year. Do you think that means I'm going to be wiped out?" And no, we did it, it's okay. Probably the greatest misconception about voodoo is that it's satanic and that it is paganistic, when in fact there is a supreme deity in voodoo called Bon Dieu, or good God. Between humanity and God are all these intermediary spirits called the levee. And they are not gods, and they are not worshipped because they're not gods, but they are served. So a practitioner of voodoo is a servitor, someone who is serving the spirit. These spirits in turn guide everything in the universe under God. If everyone could bear in mind that everything they've ever seen or heard about voodoo is just complete trash, that it's terrible PR and has nothing to do with the religion, which is absolutely life-affirming, healing, positive religion about survival and surviving in a way that is meaningful and beautiful. In voodoo, water is very important, and the idea is that we are born out of these abysmal waters that surround our reality, surround our world, that our world is buoyed by these waters, and when we die, our souls return to these waters. Within these waters are contained all the souls of the dead and the souls of the spirits that return to us as guiding principles. So when we pour libations, we're acknowledging that we come from water, we're made of water, and we return to water. And whenever the water libations are being absorbed by the ground, it's the idea that spirit is receiving our prayers and absorbing them. Every year we do this ceremony, and we call on a voodoo spirit named Erzeli Dantor, who is not traditionally served in reference to hurricanes, but in New Orleans, traditionally, whenever a hurricane is threatened, the church fathers bring out a statue of Our Lady of Prompt Succor, and she has averted the hurricanes in the past. Quite contrary to people's image of voodoo, there's no bloodletting, no people are sacrificed. It's actually a very beautiful, moving, and energized ceremony. I'm drawing what's called levees, which are cornmeal ritual drawings that call forth the power of a particular one of the spirits. And the levees are almost reflections in the waters of the cosmos above our heads. And they also are used to coax the spirit out of the waters and into physical manifestation. We call what's invisible to become manifest and to listen to our prayers and respond to us. All the individuals that are present make offerings to the spirit. We offer them food or drink that they like. And just as if you were inviting your grandmother to dinner, You want to serve her something she likes and not something that's going to repel her. We're calling on a particularly powerful spirit in the hurricane ceremony. Erzuli is ferocious. So you want to make sure you're offering her things that are going to please her and not make her angry with us, especially when we're asking for favors. While people are dancing to the drum rhythms, the energy shifts and you can feel it shift. And the drummers kind of propel the individual consciousness across normal lines of control, say, and allow for possession trance to happen.
A very dangerous Hurricane Katrina continues to churn in the Gulf of Mexico this afternoon. Winds are now 115 miles an hour, and the storm is expected to get even stronger.
As anybody remaining in Jefferson Parish needs to evacuate and be prepared to be gone for a month.
The wind is just starting to pick up.
A catastrophic hurricane.
You know, it's hard to estimate how long it's going to take these recovery efforts.
Hurricane Katrina has now reached the top of the hurricane scale, a dangerous Category 5.
Don't tell me 40,000 people are coming here. They're not here. Let's fix the biggest goddamn crisis in the history of this country. The city of New Orleans will never be the same.
Hello, my neighbor, I surely recognize you. Well, alright, I suppose. How do you do? So where you at, babe? Me, I've been a refugee too. Know we can see this through. I try to keep smiling and stay strong for you, but right now that's all I can do. But don't you cry no more, unless you really need to. Oh, and darling, if you do, you know that I will cry with you. If you can't hear what I say, we'll cry tears of joy one day. We've been as low as we can go. We will rise again, I know. New Orleans will sing and dance, my friend. We'll be together again. We'll be among the few, those who really know how it feels to go way below zero.
Rubber gloves to sort through the muck, dust masks. We meant to bring Vicks Vapor Rub to put under our noses to help with the stench that was recommended by friends, but we forgot that. So that's about it. We have garbage bags in the trunk in case we can salvage anything at all, and that's where we're going to dump whatever we think we can save. I'm gonna look in my closet, but I really doubt there will be anything that isn't completely covered with mold already. I'm much more nervous than I expected to be, especially just seeing all the houses that were collapsed and totally ruined on our drive-in. It's really unreal. You ready?
Yeah.
Throughout it all, I've been telling myself that everything's going to be okay eventually. It's just going to take a while. It's not our home anymore. It's just a house.
For the past few years, I didn't like the way that my city was shaping up, that the way that it was heading in. And I think this will be an opportunity for it to modernize itself, for a lot of the riffraff to be gone, and for things to come back anew. And with my personal life, with the house and all, I'm glad that everybody got out. Family, friends, our pets. Yeah, this is our street here. Jackie and I got out okay. That's the important thing.
This was our house. This is not going to be good. We're putting these masks on because it already smells like horrible, foul, dead garbage. And it's going to be a lot worse inside. Put your gloves in your pocket in case you need them. Anything inside is going to be disgusting. And he actually has asthma, and I'm allergic to mildew. So this could be a problem for us. Well, the door is not an issue now. They said they moved in. It's actually partially. Oh my god. Oh god. The shelves have fallen off the wall. What is this?
Saying that they came in.
The mayor of New Orleans has authorized House to have searches in areas affected by floodwaters from Hurricane Katrina. This is worse than I imagined it. They said they had mold up to the ceiling, but this is pretty awful. We'll need a flashlight to even go into the other rooms. I had no idea it would be this bad. Be careful. It's fine. Had I thought anything would have happened, I probably would have brought this with me. Here's Beavis and Butthead DVDs. A flashlight in the car? Our bedroom is through there, but we can't get to it because that door is swollen shut. I wish we had a crowbar. I think it's pretty definite now. I don't think I'm even going to bother looking in my closet. I think it might just be too depressing. We supposedly got 10.5 feet of water, but it doesn't really look like this house got 10.5 feet of water. The highest water line looks like it's right above the TV. This is all really disgusting. Be careful. It's dry as a bone. Well, wasn't that a good idea? Oddly enough, it looks like our dog food is okay. I'm not gonna feed it to the dog, but Not at this point.
It does look okay.
But it didn't get wet at all. Things will be okay eventually. This may not be our home anymore, but New Orleans really is my home. New Orleanians who have been here all their lives like me say all the time, when you live in New Orleans, it's like living in Oz and everywhere else is Kansas. Throughout everything, I've always felt like I would be able to come home again, even though this isn't our home anymore. And even though we probably won't be able to take much at all away from this.
We're New Orleanians, man. We're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
The city like talks to you. Once you are a certain way about it, once you've lived here long enough, not even if you're born here, because I've talked to many people that I've met over my life that moved in from somewhere else, and they sound like I do, like they're in love with the city. I'm about 5 feet tall, maybe 5'1". I like to say 5'2", but Jackie always corrects me and tells me 5. You know, so that's how high this is. This is one of the, I guess, later water lines after it had receded, after the water went down a bit. As you can see, it goes up for about 3 feet over my head, up to the, I'm not sure if you can see it. See if I can give you a visual aid. Looks like that point was the highest, where it stopped right up under that that sheet. That's probably right at about 11 feet total for the neighborhood. This marking tells you what group came in, because there was FEMA, SPCA, military, 82nd, and like a few other groups coming in and doing these house-to-house inspections. This indicates who came in, which group. That's the date they were on, obviously. I forget how these two are set up, but one is the number of live people found inside. The other, I imagine the bottom, is the number of dead people that were found inside. Our house, fortunately, had neither. The ones in the front are doing fine. Good stuff, man. Just so you know, this car was in my family as long as I've been. It's a 76 Cutlass. My parents bought it the year I was born. The way I've described it to other people is it's a friend of mine. My friends, the guys that graduated with me, that grew up with me, we're all still good friends. This is like one of the characters that's like our group. I'm Carl, there's Jermaine, there's Misha, there's Judson and Chris, there's the Cutlass. It was the Mach 5. We had all kinds of crazy stuff at it. That picnic table is from somewhere in this yard. This is our backyard.
It wasn't, you know, perfectly manicured by any means, but it wasn't the secret garden gone wrong either.
This was the
what this is.
Giant oak tree that covered this entire back area.
And still does.
It still covers the entire back area.
We had a little cute garden and a nice little herb garden for the kitchen, but not anymore.
Neighborhood of the dead.
This is what it is. One of our neighbors, Kelly, described this neighborhood as one of the best kept secrets in New Orleans, and I really feel that it was.
There's nothing that happens from this point on that's not tinged by Katrina, and I mean, I can't even fathom how long that will be. People have asked me, we sort of were joking around a long time ago, what the over-under is on when the first edition of the Times-Picayune will come out that does not have a Katrina-related story on the front page. And I have to think it's, you know, 5 years, maybe 10 years. it's inescapable, and it touches everything we do, from the schools we go to, the jobs we have, our economy, our sports, Mardi Gras, everything. You know, it's one time when we answered the call. I think the local TV stations, radio stations, and the Times-Picayune stepped up and really answered this thing. We found out what we're made of, and I'm kind of proud of that point. We've provided, I think, more leadership than certainly the so-called leaders of the community who seem to be running around and at odds. We're a voice of reason, and we're reaching deep into the community.
How many hurricanes did we cover over the last 20, 30 years? And every hurricane I ever covered was pretty much get in the car, get the cameras, go down, cover the hurricane. Well, this one, I was going out of town. I wasn't going to stay. And my friend David Tyree, who I had done some replacement for on radio, couldn't make it, so they called and said, "Can you come for just one night?" And I said, "Sure." So the family left, and I walked down to CC's at Magazine in Jefferson, got a cup of coffee, walked back out, and there's a big palm tree full of green parrots that somebody released 10 years ago, and now there are hundreds of them. And you can't walk out of CC's on that side and hold a conversation because of the parrots. And I walked out, and I looked up at the palm tree, and there were no parrots. Walked to the corner and looked at the telephone lines, no birds. And in Vietnam, not to sound melodramatic, but that was it. When Charlie was nearby, or when we were coming into some grid, everything stopped. You know, a jungle with all kind of signs would go, and they would stay. They would stay that way until either we were gone, Charlie was gone, or the threat was gone. Got on the air that afternoon and just said to people, because the mayor had just said, "I don't want to panic anybody, but," and I got on and said, "I disagree, I want to panic you." And I told the story about the birds. And we started getting call after call after call. I'm in Alabama, no birds. I'm in Folsom, no birds. I'm in Baton Rouge, no birds. Well, the next morning, we look at the radar and the storm's bearing to the right. And I said, I'm screwed. I'm the laughing stock of this entire state and city because I told people, run like hell, I'm not seeing any birds. So actually, I caused the flood to make sure I didn't look bad.
That's right, and you broke the levees.
That's it.
You know,
That's
he
it.
just victim.
New Orleans, we are from Jefferson Parish, we are from St. Bernard, we are from St. Tammany, we're from Lafourche, we're from numerous other parishes. The point here is that we represent many political views, yet we're all here on this one issue. And what is our issue? Category 5 levees and coastal restoration. Category 5
The life jacket is here because we don't feel safe.
If they don't fix our levees, we're going to be like swimming in our city.
Wearing this vest is a symbol of what happened to my neighborhood because I live in Mid-City and it was flooded. It was flooded because of the 17th Canal under erosion of the levees and also because of the erosion of the wetlands. And so our feeling, I think everybody out here understands that those two things go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Restoration of the wetlands and rebuilding the levees.
I'm out of my house. I'm a Republican. I had damage from the storm just like everybody else. So I'm not really trying to blame anybody. I'm just trying to rebuild our state. And I don't want to blame the governor. I don't want to blame the president. I really just want to move forward and focus on what we need to do to rebuild our state. Ask the federal government and the state government to spend their money wisely in the right places, rebuild our levees, strengthen our area, and make sure this doesn't happen again.
I created this organization on Sunday, just 5 days ago, and it was in response to an awful lot of frustration I've experienced over the last 4 months. I've lost my house, I've lost everything I've owned, and I'm starting all over again. And I'm frustrated. I'm very frustrated. And I'm well aware that what's going on in New Orleans has fallen off the radar screen, the national radar screen. And I wanted to come up with some idea that was going to put it right back on, because it needs to be addressed. I'll get back to fixing my house again, but I'm not going to do it until I feel some safety in going back to my neighborhood, and it's not going to flood next year. We're joined totally on this one issue, Category 5 levees and coastal restoration. And I wanted that message to be back on the national track so that it can get appropriate attention.
We were in this building when the storm hit. It rode it like a champ. In fact, we came out the morning after the storm and thought, well, that was too bad for the Texas live oaks on the street, and we could see some damage on rooftops, but we thought, well, we rode that pretty well. And it wasn't till Tuesday that we realized what was going on. There was really no information. We figured the best thing to do is get everybody we could find together and ask them how they felt about what was going on, what was open, what were they doing, what were their plans.
Our message to the nation is that we, the citizens of Louisiana, will do all that we can do to see that our citizens all have a voice.
It's a standing room only event. And we just added a cocktail waitress last week, which is very New Orleans, that you would have a political forum with a cocktail waitress. It's the oldest established floating crap game in New Orleans. This is the longest running and best established community gathering that this town has had in a long time.
It's history in the making. Right now, as things begin to start up again and New Orleans getting rebuilt, it's starting right here.
It's so inspiring to me to see citizens coming together and trying to solve the problems in their communities.
We're in carnival season now. 12th night, which was the 6th of January, was 12th night. And the 12th day of Christmas, from the partridges and the pear tree, and that starts carnival. So carnival runs from now till February 28th, Tuesday, which is Fat Tuesday, which is Mardi Gras. And then we have Lent, and then Easter, and they have a list outside the church. You can see it all. So we're in carnival season, and so king cake is traditional. It's a big cake that doesn't taste very good, but in your slice there's a chance that you have this little baby, little plastic baby, and if you don't swallow it, if you don't choke on it, you get a prize for having, and you are the king of that particular event. You get to host the rest of the evening. So tonight, Jimmy, rather than having king cake, he has levee cake, and it's who finds the breach in the cake.
Four months after the storm, here on the 12th night, beginning of carnival season. I don't know, living in the city, it's a strange dichotomy. Right here where we are in sunny uptown, Audubon Park, you can live your life oblivious of what's happened here to a large degree. You talk about politics aside, I mean, if you read the paper and you see the blue tarps on the roof, then you see it. But somehow we've managed to maintain a viable and working and functioning community up here. It has restaurants and bars and churches and playgrounds and schools and a park. Some functioning traffic lights, some mail service, not much. But when you cross into that line where the brown stain begins, where the bathtub ring surrounds our city, it's a whole other thing. It hits you in the face. And it's funny, a lot of people stay on the island, or what do they call it, the sliver on the river. I like to think of it as Bermuda. It's same size as Bermuda, 7 miles long and 1 mile wide. It just doesn't have the good golf courses.
Well, I say to people from out of town a lot, because they'll call and say, well, how's it going today? How's it going today? People who care. And I said, you know, where I live downtown, I walk downtown, I work downtown, I have appointments uptown, a little raggedy on the edges, little piles of stuff, but we're pretty much back to normal. But you go beyond those perimeters, and to me, it is sinful that more has not been done. More has not been done. I want to call the military back and say, would you just help us clean a little bit longer? I mean, God bless what those people did, but please help us one more time, one more sweep. The pain and frustration in people's voices who are still indecisive about what do I do, what do I do, where is the direction? That to me would make me more nuts than the loss of a home, is not knowing what to do.
Yeah, and to me, you know, I equate it with what I probably impressed with most and what I remember most. It's war.
It is
It's war.
It is war.
The uptown area is your base. It's behind the lines. It's the safe part where you can go to, and it feels pretty much like you're not in war. If you go out of that perimeter and you go much past a certain click, it's kind of bothersome. It's a little concern. If you go way past that safe area, it's war. It's a destroyed Nagasaki. And when you look at it, you think, okay, it's very good over here. It's kind of good right here. But how good is that going to be if this never changes?
The day-to-day swings, and you probably find this with everybody. You know, today, optimistic, blue sky. It's nice here. It's beautiful. Tomorrow, could be dark and gloomy. The waves of optimism and pessimism just hit you with a fury. You know, not to make too maudlin a comparison, but the fury of a hurricane. You know.
There was really no information. So you kind of had to see wet people to understand what was going on. We sat through Rita, and then things dried out, and about a month after that they picked up the trash and took the porta potties away. And it's only been uphill from there.
I guess I just had never been through anything like this, so I couldn't have possibly imagined what it would be like.
In my head, I kept thinking I gotta get back and I gotta help it come back and get back to normal.
We were in a closet, literally in a closet, saying this is the first time America either doesn't care about or has the incapacity to take care of its own, and get calls from foreign countries saying, we're listening to you say this, we agree and we're going to help. And we just came off of the tsunami where we moved 2 aircraft carriers and a hospital ship within 3 days, and 5 days later we have no help. I got to tell you, in all my history in broadcasting, I think that moment was just stunningly angry.
Oh, Jeff, are closer, walk with me.
When I tell you there was not another human being nor car, I got this overwhelming feeling of, oh my God, it's dead. And then I saw the sign that hopefully many people saw, and you know how in New Orleans you can hear it? On this handwritten sign was, get out a broom and clean the gutter so the water will go in. And I said, oh no, life. There is such life here. I drove down that street, I kept looking, still no human beings. I said, there is life in this place, there will be life in this place. And I felt that every time I came back. There is life.
As culture ambassador for the city of New Orleans, I really feel that music is one piece of
what's going to heal the city. You know, we have to have a multifaceted approach and a multifaceted concept, big dream for what this city needs. I think right now the city is dreaming too small. I think we need to get on big dreams. Now what happens is we start dreaming big and then the rest of the country says, oh man, don't do that. We as a city need to stick together and do what we know how to do. We're big dreamers. That doesn't mean a lot of a dream. That means big ideas. And that's what Louis Armstrong did. That was a man who was from a small neighborhood, who came from small upbringing, came from not very much money, very common upbringing. But look what he became. That's the American story. And our rebuilding has to use our culture as a tool, because the culture is the boat that's going to get us across that river to where we need to go. We have created the greatest art form that America has ever produced, which is jazz. It is the reality of New Orleans. And I think that pretty much that sensibility of what we need to rebuild has to come from, you know, our culture. And the second line comes out something so serious from our jazz processional, which is our jazz funeral. So that celebration comes out something that is so ceremonial and something so serious, but we're serious about mourning and we're serious about celebrating. And both of those things are necessary. And the second line is one piece of that, and that's the true moment that we define ourselves as New Orleanians. It's a moment in time of celebration. You see the second line, you got white people, black people, Asian people, you might have some people in town from Japan, they join in. It's a celebratory thing because jazz is a celebratory music. That's why when America created this art form and it was born here in New Orleans, it was so significant because it took that true American element that we use, that tool that we have to use in rebuilding. You know what that's called? Optimism. Optimism of the blues. And the second line has that in it. You know, we play instruments like other people hold basketballs in their neighborhoods. I mean, that's the greatness of New Orleans legacy. You know, as I drove up and I looked at the statue of Louis Armstrong, someone asked me a question and said, what has all this taught us? When I came and I looked at Louis Armstrong and I thought to myself, here's someone who's been such a great representative for what our city can be, a great representative for what our country can be, and truly not only what a great New Orleanian is, but what a great American can be. And I think the big story here is really, you know, New Orleans, right now, we're in the moment for really defining what the possibilities of being an American city and being an American citizen can be. To rebuild the city of New Orleans is to give back 0.0005% of what this city has given me as being a musician, as a jazz musician, as an African American, as being bar none an American here. And when I think of Louis Armstrong and I think what he would want us to do, I think he would want us to use what we have, our resources, as a celebratory tool to rebuild. Because what we do in America is we rebuild, but we rebuild with celebration.
People have said that the latest hurricane ceremony was a failure because we had a hurricane and the city flooded. And to them, first of all, I would say that the LOA can guide us and they can give us advice and show us in a particular direction, but they can't make us do anything. And for years, Ers Ledantor, the spirit to whom we had been dedicating our hurricane ceremonies, have been letting us know that we needed to make some changes in lifestyle, that we needed to watch out for global warming. And I haven't noticed a whole lot of people turning off their air conditioning or leaving their cars at home. So it didn't come as any surprise to me that we got hit hard. And we did not get the worst case scenario. We managed to be to the west of the storm, which is better than being to the east. And we also had a breach of the levees on the lake rather than on the river. Had the river breached, we would be drowned.
What in New Orleans, y'all? What in New Orleans, y'all? What in New Orleans? What in New Orleans? What is New Orleans? What is New Orleans? What is New Orleans? What is